Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of the DAN Show, and welcome to my latest 2021 NFL preview video. Today, I'm going to break down the Las Vegas Raiders, but before I get started, if you're new here, this is your first time here, I just got to ask you a simple question. Do you like football? Because if so, you're in the right place. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, go ahead and ring the bell. That way you can be notified every time I come out with a new video. Now, if you've been here before, you already know the drill. Give me a thumbs up and drop a comment below after you watch the video with what your opinion is of the video and what your record prediction is for the Las Vegas Raiders for the 2021 upcoming season. Now, here's how this video is going to work. I'm going to give you 3 things I like about the Raiders, followed up by 3 things I don't like, but stick around to the very end where I break down the Vegas over-under and I reveal if I am going to put action down on the Raiders. So, let's get started with the first thing I like about the Las Vegas Raiders. The first thing I like about the Raiders is a new defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley. For those of you who don't know, Gus Bradley was a defensive coordinator with the Los Angeles Chargers for the last 4 years and did a really good job. Basically, there's 3 things I like about this hire. Number one, he's been with the AFC West for the last 4 years. He knows the coaches, he knows the opponents. He's going to be very familiar with the division rivals, having already played them for the last 4 years. The second thing I like is that he's already coached with John Gruden and Ron Marinelli before in Tampa Bay. This is a coaching staff that knows each other, that's worked together, has won a Super Bowl together. So it's not like you're wondering if your style works with his style. You already know that. You've already won a Super Bowl together, so that's a big thing. And the third thing I like is that when Rod Marinelli took over as a defensive coordinator for the Raiders, he implemented more of a Tampa 2 type of system. And that's pretty much the same thing that Gus Bradley's going to run in his cover 3 scheme. The cover 3 scheme is going to be a little more man-oriented, but it's not going to be that different from what you've already laid the foundation down in 2020. Basically, when Bradley comes in, he's going to be able to hit the ground running because he's already worked with Marinelli. They already know each other. The system that they run, Marinelli's more of a Tampa 2 guy. Bradley's more of the cover 3 guy. Basically, I'm just dumbing this down. Marinelli's more zone, Bradley's a little more man, but it's a lot of the same concept. So normally when you bring in a new defensive scheme, you have to make personnel changes. You have to, there's like a grace period where you're getting to know each other. You're really not going to have that. Bradley's going to be able to come in and hit the ground running and immediately improve this Raiders defense. The second thing I like about the Las Vegas Raiders is quarterback Derek Carr. The last 3 years under John Gruden, Derek Carr has thrown for over 4,000 yards in each of those seasons. Under Gruden, his completion percentage is 68.86, which is just a hair under 69, and it's also higher than his AFC West counterpart, Patrick Mahomes. It's really a damn shame Derek Carr doesn't get the credit he deserves, but it's kind of understanding because when he first got drafted in the league, he's in the same division with Hall of Famer Peyton Manning. Now he's in the same division as Patrick Mahomes. And no, he's not the same level of quarterback as either one of those guys, but is he a franchise caliber quarterback? The answer is yes. I think he's easily one of the top 12 quarterbacks in the National Football League, but he really won't get the credit that he deserves. When you got a Hall of Famer in Manning in the same division, then you get MVP Patrick Mahomes. However, if you do want a good dark horse MVP candidate, currently he's plus 6,000 or 60 to 1 odds to win NFL MVP, and it's not a bad dark horse bet. The reason why is goes hand in hand with the third thing I like about the Raiders, and that's our offensive skill position talent. If you use Ourlads, which is what I use to look at the depth chart, you look at their 3 starting wide receivers. You have 2 2020 rookies and Hunter Renfrow, who was drafted in 2019. So you have a third-year player with 2 second-year players. Then you also have former Bills wide receivers Brown and Zay Jones, who are going to compete for playing time as well. This will easily be the most athletic group of wide receivers Derek Carr's ever had, and definitely an improvement over last year. Then in Josh Jacobs, you have what I consider to be the AFC West, the best running back. I think Jacobs is extremely underrated. The only thing that puts him, or the only thing that prevents him from being in that top 5 NFL running back category is he doesn't really have breakaway speed. This is a guy who's more a move the chains type of back than a guy who's a home run hitter. But you have the home run speed at the wide receiver position, which makes Jacobs even more dangerous in this offense this year. And then you also have tight end Darren Waller. Nobody except for Travis Kelce has put up better receiving stats than Darren Waller has over the last 2 seasons. Like Carr suffers from being in the same division with Mahomes. Well, Waller going into 2021 as the second best tight end statistically, only behind his AFC West counterpart, Travis Kelce. So just to recap the 3 things I like about the Raiders, I like defensive coordinator Gus Bradley. I like their quarterback Derek Carr, and I like their offensive skill position talent. Now, 3 things I don't like about the Las Vegas Raiders. The first thing I don't like about the Raiders is their front 7. In Tampa Bay, when John Gruden won the Super Bowl, he had one of the best defenses of all time. You had Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks, both in the Hall of Fame. And then his best defensive lineman was actually Simeon Rice. He was a first-team All-Pro that year. And then they also used first-round pick on Booger McFarland as a defensive tackle to help boost that defense. And keep in mind the 2002 Tampa Bay defense was one of the best all-time defenses. And Ron Marinelli and Gus Bradley were a part of that coaching staff that won the Super Bowl as part of that 2002 Bucs defense. And this front 7 isn't even close. I don't think that this front 7's even good. When I saw Gus Bradley come in as the defensive coordinator, I just assumed that you're trying to build a front 7 that was similar to what you had in Tampa Bay when you won a Super Bowl. Instead, what you're bringing in is Solomon Thomas, who was a complete bust in San Francisco. I did like Yannick Ngakoue, and then you have Quentin Jefferson, and then you also have third-round picks Malcolm Coons and Divine Diablo. This isn't the same thing as Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks. And the third-round picks of Coons and Diablo is a perfect segue into the second thing I don't like about the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's Mike Mayok's draft selections. When I talked about the front 7, I didn't even mention the number 4 overall pick in 2019, Clyde Farrell. I was actually surprised because in his 2 seasons with the Raiders, he's actually had 6.5 sacks. I didn't think he had that many. There's talk about moving him from defensive end to defensive tackle, but as of right now, he's not even a starter. He was number 4 overall pick. In all fairness, the 2020 draft isn't as bad as I thought it would be. Tanner Muse, the college safety, is now competing for a starting linebacker spot. And if he becomes a starting linebacker this year, it's not that bad. But look at Lynn Bowden. He was your 3rd-round pick in training camp. You packaged with the 6th-round pick to trade for a 4th-round pick. I'm going to go over this one more time. You take a 3rd-round pick in training camp, a rookie, you add a 6th-round pick, and you get rid of these 2, the player and the draft pick, to Miami for a 4th. What the hell are you doing? And then I hated the Ruggs pick over Judy, and I understand you want the deep speed, but let's just look at stats here. Ruggs year 1, 23 catches, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns versus Jerry Judy, 52 catches, 856 yards, and 3 touchdowns. In this draft, I had Judy slightly above CeeDee Lamb, but I had both these guys considerably better than Ruggs. Now, I understand you want a deep speed aspect, but which receiver looks better out of these 3? CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Judy, or Henry Ruggs? You're probably going to hear CeeDee Lamb more than you'll hear Judy, but Ruggs is definitely a tier below. just like he was going into a draft process. And these 2 third-round picks I mentioned to improve the front seven, why are you drafting another safety to be to change into a linebacker? If you wanted a linebacker, why didn't you take the better prospect than Baring Browning? He was the better athlete who played at Ohio State, the former 5-star player who Denver picked up. So if you wanted the prospect, why don't you take the guy who played linebacker who was the better athlete to begin with? And as far as Malcolm Coons goes, Ronnie Perkins and Patrick Jones were higher draft prospects by every other team in the NFL. Both these players were chosen after Coons. The only thing I could think of is, hey, let's take Coons because we had a lot of success with Khalil Mack, who John Gruden couldn't get rid of fast enough. Out of Mayok's first 3 drafts, none have been good, and so far they've really stunted the team's development so far. The third and final thing I don't like about the Raiders, I normally wouldn't include, but the last 2 years the Raiders have just fallen apart after very solid starts of the season. Last year you beat Cleveland in Cleveland. You beat divisional opponents, the Los Angeles Chargers and the Denver Broncos. You go on a nice 3-game winning streak to be 6-3, and you finish 8-8. So you finish the 2020 season 2-5. The year before that, you start off 6-4 to finish 7-9. So in 2019, you finished the season 1-5. In 2020, you finished the season 2-5. Weird fact, since Gruden's taken over as the Raiders head coach again, they finished the last 3 seasons 3-5 every year. But in 2019 and 2020, they're in position to advance to the playoffs, and they just nosedive. So Raiders fans, you tell me. Now, I know that they had some injuries, but not enough to justify this type of a complete collapse. So just to recap the 3 things I don't like about the Raiders, I don't like the front 7. Mike Mayok's drafts are questionable, and I'm not sure they're really going to help this year, especially when there were players available who could. And the odd second half collapses the Raiders have had the last 2 years. Now, this is the money-making part of the show. This is the part of the show where I break down the Vegas yearly odds total, and I reveal if I'm going to put action down on the Las Vegas Raiders. As you can see here, I have the yearly win total as 7.5, and all these numbers are coming from Westgate Casino in beautiful Las Vegas. Over 7.5 is plus 110, which means that if you wager $100, you win 110. But under 7.5 is negative 130, which means that you have to wager $130 to win 100. I'm surprised for your hometown team that the numbers are this low. Vegas is not like the Raiders, but I do. And I have a special bonus bet for you. To make the playoffs, yes is plus 330. So a $100 wager wins you 330, while no is negative 400. Now, if the Raiders enter the season healthy, there's no injuries in preseason, I am going to put action on the Raiders. I like over 7.5, and I love plus 110. And I'm going to sprinkle in just a little bit to make the playoffs at plus 330, because at over 3-1 odds, why not? You have a team with a really good quarterback, an improving defense, and a young skill position upgrade with those rookie receivers from last year coming into a starting role, John Brown and Zay Jones from Buffalo. So here's what I'm going to do, is that I'm going to sprinkle in just a little bit of my bankroll into the Raiders making the playoffs. Now, let's just say I wager $1,000 on over 7.5 wins for the Raider. I'm going to take about 5 to 10% of that, and I'm going to put that on the Raiders to make the playoffs. Now, you can get greedy and bet a little more if you like, but I strongly suggest that if you're going to put action on the Raiders to make the playoffs, I would recommend only using a maximum of 15%. I'm probably going to go 5 to 10. Here's why. Let's say you use 10%, which is probably what I'm going to do. You take a $1,000 wager, you take 900 of that, and you bet it on plus 110 to cover over 7.5, but you lose the playoff bet. That's fine, because that 1,000 wager $1,000 wager, you're getting a really good number at plus 110. You walk out of the casino with $1,890. It would work that you have $900 at plus 110 wins you $990. And that's if you miss the playoffs. But let's say you make the playoffs, all right? And that 10% ends up paying off. That 100 wins you plus 330. So you walk out with 430. That $1,000 wager wins you 2320. That's a great hit. $1,000 wager, with if you miss that 10% you throw away, you still walk out with 1890, and that's great. The reason why it's great is because the standard bet's negative 110. You're getting positive 110, so that 1890, that's almost the same as betting 1,000 at negative 110, and 1,000 at negative 110 would be 1909 if you win. So you know it's $19. So I think it's a smart move. If you do like the Raiders to make the playoffs at plus 330, make it a very small wager. Don't bet a large amount on it. I'm probably going to do 5 to 10%. My recommended maximum bet would be 15. Now, this is my opinion, but I want to hear from you. Don't forget, give me a thumbs up and comment below. This is just a conversation starter off for my opinion, but I want to hear from you. Now, if you're watching the premiere Friday at noon Central Standard Time, you know what tonight is. Tonight I go live, and I'm having a threesome tonight. I'm bringing back Homeland and the Red Sea. You do not want to miss this show, so don't forget, join me tonight live, 7:15 Central Standard Time here on YouTube. I will see you tonight.